Are there any like standout best performing SaaS brands that you're seeing right now at Gas for SaaS?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a few. I think for us, like I think Rokt is just like, I mean, has been our top client, has been like our best customer, but like everything they do with just high level of intention. They understand like the pay it forward model. They understand, how to activate partnerships. They understand agency partnerships. They understand, how to go after the brands you need. We've been working on this cool tool called D2C MVP as well. They've been building with Sean, and they even with that, they've been like really, really good with just understanding that feedback doesn't mean conversion. So I really like them, but also just a very mature team. And then I think like on the bigger size, we've been working with Apple Oven now for 2 years, and we're doing a lot of production with them. And they've been really interesting because it's like a you have like a public company that like actually works like a startup. So it's like really, really fun working with them. And I think they also really care, but they're definitely like learning as they go. Like they don't understand the models. They don't know you have to do like these different, events and partnership queues. Like they're learning as they go, and they're figuring it out. I mean, the beauty is they do have an unlimited bankroll, so that helps. I think just on the flip side, um, a few others that I think we've enjoyed working with, but more so even like just that I think have done well, is Proxima. Proxima's done a really, really good job kind of taking the e-commerce space and then like leveling up to now like partnering with Microsoft and going enterprise. And I think it's been really cool to see them like almost graduate beyond e-commerce, beyond like SMBs, and kind of their initial ICP. So that was really fun. But I think overall, I would just say there is there's a lot of this noise around AI and what it's doing, and everyone has all the tools and capabilities. And although I thought it would make certain SaaS companies feel like we gotta figure it out, we gotta pivot, we gotta create something new, blah, blah, blah. It's at least from my angle, I see it. People are very like calm, and it's like maybe because like most of these companies are built on true engineers, and like they probably know like, all right, some of this 90% of what you're seeing out there isn't even going to be effective or won't actually make it through, or there's going to be too many issues. So there's this like sense of calm in how certain people are building, at least from our peripherals. And it's kind of cool because like on the other side, you have brand owners who are like, I got to learn AI. I got to build landing pages. I got to spit out 50 creatives a week now. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I feel like we're on a rampage to like utilize everything. But yeah, those are some of our at least our viewpoints right now.
Do you think that's like good that you're seeing SaaS companies become, but brand owners not be?
I don't know. I don't really understand what we should all be feeling also. Like I just because we have access doesn't mean doesn't mean it's gonna work, right? Like I talk about a lot about these people talk about these static ads, like, oh, you can pump out now 100 ads in 5 minutes. But like, what if it doesn't work? Like, just because you can do it doesn't mean it's gonna work. And I think like if you take that theme and you apply that in multiple ways, it's like, wait, like that's true. Like, just because we all can build landing pages, what if it doesn't convert as high? Now what? I just so I don't know. I feel like maybe the SaaS companies have a little bit more just baseline of understanding a lot more data that other people don't see, and they can probably, look at the back end and say, all right, well, things are moving this way versus that. So maybe just a better bird's eye view.
I One thing that's interesting, all the companies you just mentioned, none of those are widgets, as I would look at like there's like different types of SaaS, right? But like you just described an two ad platforms basically, and a company that's a ad audience platform basically.
Data. Yeah, it's a data
Yeah, it's a
product.
data.
Well,
Yeah,
what about let's say you take another tool like video wise.
yeah,
Would you
so that's a good example. So like do you feel like they fall into the same category? Because I think I
but
actually
they're
believe there's a very big difference
growing.
here. So yeah,
They're growing like crazy this year, and it's like
interesting.
in my mind, I've even asked Harry, who moved from Chew on This to there. I'm like, can somebody not code the ability to show video on their website? Like, are we that far away from it? And I think his piece was, he's like, the amount of data we have to tell you what is actually going to work out of the gate is untouched, right? Like, and how we're going to set up things and make sure it doesn't bug your site, make sure it doesn't slow down your site, all these things. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like, we can't just because you can build it doesn't mean it's going to work the way you intended it to. So I don't know if that's going to change soon enough.
VideoWise is an interesting one.
Yeah. Also, Jeremiah, like hosting and serving videos, as you know, is like a giant pain. I mean, look, maybe we're just going to find ourselves doing like, oh, but this one is lucky for this reason, and this one is lucky. Yeah. Like maybe that's what we're going to find ourselves doing. Yeah. But dude, like no one's gonna host and serve like, vibe code host and serving videos, because they would get a giant AWS bill in like 3 months.
Well, that's what you can do that. Then to your point, you get the giant AWS bill. I think what I'm curious about it with something like that is, are we going to see well, okay, I might be wrong about this. And Ron, I actually would love your thought on this, because I think you've got a lot of interesting perspective too. I think what AI is going to do is kind of put a ceiling on how much people are willing to pay. So there's always going to be a price that the out-of-the-box software is worth, because of the fact that you don't have to deal with it. It's just done on its own. Like this example, right? Like, you could go vibe code video, a similar product to put on your website, but there's a cost of doing that. You've got the maintenance, you've got the actual like cost of credits to do it, you've got the hosting costs, all those kinds of things. And that, whatever that cost is, you're ultimately going to compare that against the software subscription fee. And so if that software subscription went to $100,000 a month, you're probably going to vibe code it, because it's cheaper / you get exactly what you want out of this thing that you built yourself. But if it's $100 a month, there's no way you're going to vibe code it. It's not worth it, right? So there's the in between is the unknown right now. But I kind of believe there's some number there where AI is almost putting like a ceiling on what people are going to be willing to pay for some of these things. But I don't know if that's actually the case, or if that's just like
fair point,
how things look early on.
VideoWise is a really interesting one, because I'm a customer of VideoWise, and Claudio's a friend, and he actually made VideoWise free for me, which I was really happy with, because I was spending like $1,000 a month on VideoWise. And I only came over to VideoWise because I rage churned from Tolstoy, because I was paying $1,000 a month in usage fees, and I didn't realize. I was like, fuck, this is expensive for like showing video on my website. But I was just telling you guys about how I've just vibe coded my first Shopify landing page that I'm actually happy with. And look at one of the things it did using a VideoWise landing page that I had as a reference. It went and built, and this is all in Shopify sections. It's not just like raw code. It's actually used computer users and like the agent to use a browser, and built it into Shopify, and then built its own like custom widgets in the app. So these are like shoppable widgets for different videos using like a VideoWise widget. But VideoWise is so much more than this. This is just one thing that I was using VideoWise for. And yeah, it did that. I did another one, which I thought was pretty cool. Part of my prompt was, I want a coupon code. Look at this coupon code. And then it like redirects to checkout, I think. How cool is that? With the discount code.
And Jack, just to clarify, the video that you have there is not VideoWise. It's completely...
No. Yeah, it's not VideoWise. Yeah, so it took like a reference landing page that I had built that took me some time, right? Like I'm clicking around, adding in the widgets, uploading the videos, right? And then it just scraped all the videos and built a new one as like a custom section in the Shopify theme. And I didn't ask it to. It just did it.
Dude, that is sick.
And Shopify is covering the hosting on that, I assume.
Right. Yeah.
I'm into Shopify. Now you're not actually paying the hosting cost on those videos either.
Yeah, one of the things I'd like to do, I'd like if it could embed the videos from YouTube, like do an extra interim step, so they're not actually hosted on Shopify, they're on YouTube and they're like racking up plays on YouTube. But yeah, this is a nice little midway.
I love this. Ron, I don't know, man. Maybe you got to tell your SaaS friends to sweat some bullets.
Yeah, I got. Should I get Harry on the call?
You just gotta be like, yo, watch the pod. Look at what Jack's doing. You guys are too chill. What are you doing?
Yeah, this is that was very nonchalant, by the way. Like, just showed us a whole like a SaaS built out already. That's excellent. Well done.
No, it's sick, but it's not 10% of what VideoWise does. VideoWise does so much more. And they're doing this like new clipping thing where they like make ads from you based on your content, which is sick. So yeah, I feel like people are going to lose that detail and that attention to detail from like engineers who are building solutions if they just go and vibe code some replacement that's buggy and needs maintenance, right? Or whatever happens to be, right?
As somebody with a 7-figure AWS bill, like I can say that the margins matter on this kind of stuff. Like it actually does add up over time. And, if you've got 100 visitors, not a big deal. When you got 1 million visitors, it's a different story. So I do think there's a lot of opportunity in those margins on these kinds of things.
Yeah, dude, our Cloudflare bill alone last month was like $70K.
It's insane.
So I just think people don't understand what it means to serve video. That's all. That's what I'll say about about video, dude. Ankit, I gotta know, man. Like, you come across, like, at least my knowledge of you is like you're like a designer at heart.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've been unleashed with all of these tools? Like most of the other designers who I know are like, oh my God, they're like kids in candy stores now.
Yeah. No, it's I think there's a point where, you were either a packaging designer or you were a UI UX designer or you created graphics for ads, and there was all these like little niches within the design world. And I was always somebody who did a little bit of everything. Like I like to get my hands dirty and everything, but it was hard to find people who did everything. And it was always a software skill issue. Because you had, Adobe Photoshop did this one thing, you had Illustrator that did this other thing, you had InDesign that is and you had Figma and whatever else. But it was always tough to find somebody who just went and learned every single thing. And what's recently happening, especially with the design to code aspect now and the handoff being so seamless, it's changed the whole game where you can be a packaging designer, you can create the ads, you can create the branding systems, you can create every single thing. And you don't need 5 different designers anymore. You just need that one guy who knows how to use every single AI platform. And honestly, most of these things are all within a suite, and now you can just kind of one-shot everything. So for me, it's been amazing. But then there's also the other end of it where a lot of these people who have specialized in this one, or I'm just a packaging designer and I've never done anything else. Okay, well, that can't fly anymore. Those people are getting scared. So I think there's 2 ends of the spectrum where there's half the designers are like, oh, okay, I'm unleashed. I can do everything that I wasn't able to do before. And then there's the other half that's like, shit, I don't even want to go and learn how to go do everything else. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
So if I connect that back to like this, like, how should like SaaS people feel, and how is all of this shifting? Like, what you're describing is a world in which, let's just take some like larger company has like 20 designers on staff using 10 different tools. And now you're saying actually it can be 2 designers using 1 tool. I'm making it up, right? But just to be provocative, I think the average brand or retailer is going to like choose that direction, which like it makes it feel like every software company must serve multiple purposes. Because like what you just said as a user of software is like, I kind of have this experience now where this piece of software can do a lot.
Mhm.
And so what it does is it imposes the pressure on other pieces of software to also be kind of full suite, right? And if you're not full suite, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
We're in like the greatest era of full suite platforms. And the second thing it does is it puts pressure on this idea that you're not going to be able to sell it to 20 people. You have to sell it to 2 people and make them like have Iron Man suits, for lack of a better phrase. Do you feel like the sort of total change that is going to happen as a consequence of what you just described as your own experience, where in that cycle are we from your perspective? And like, who's like, Ron was jokingly saying like, all the brand owners are like everywhere. But I actually feel like the reason they're everywhere is like, because they're at the they're at the tip of the spear of like how this change is going to happen. Is that how you would feel too, or how would you describe like the rate of change that's going to happen across the industry, and like who's leading first?
Yeah, I think it's already happening. If you were to talk to me about this about 6 months ago, I'd say, oh, it's AI is great, but it can't do this, 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 and this. Well, 6 months later, we've gotten to a point where you have no excuse but to adapt to it. And if you don't adapt to it right now, like we're at that pinnacle where if you don't adapt right now, you are actually going to get left behind. You have to change all of your systems, how you are working. I'm sure most designers went to school and they were taught a certain way of doing things. Um, hey, you create this thing in Figma and then you hand it off to code, and that was kind of and there's certain protocols that you had to follow. Well, now people are just looking for designers who can ship. So it's a popular Twitter term where that designer has to be able to go and first create the product. Like, let's say we're just talking about a tangible product, then go and create the LPs for it, go and create the visual identity, go and create, honestly, these days, designers are more looked upon to create ad copy and things like that as well. Like, you don't need, they should know the product in and out. That person needs to be people always used to say too many chefs in a kitchen. That person needs to be the chef and really own everything. And that's why you see a lot of CMOs now who weren't traditionally trained in design now becoming those people because they already had the mindset. They already knew the product. They already knew how to sell it. The only thing they couldn't do was design it. Now they can design it and they can build a landing page in Claude or Manus or whatever. And they can pretty much design and ship, and they can build 100 static ads, like Ron said. Now, the only problem I see with this is we don't know the incremental value of that. You can go and create 100 static ads, and we've been testing this on Avi right now, or you can go and create a bunch of landing pages. But honestly, Ron, we haven't seen much of a lift versus when I was doing it by hand. And I was creating 15. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you can get a lot of output, but now the quality comes into discussion because something is missing. And even though it looks all the same, something's missing.
So code is obviously the domain in which AI has moved the fastest, right? And I think it is because it has the best feedback loop. And so like these coding agents can like write the test themselves. They can understand what to ask the user for. There's like all of these sorts of reasons why coding has the best feedback loops. Don't you feel like we're like 6 months away from what you just described having the right feedback loops? Like this landing page that you build, like, man, there's just no way you're like, I can't imagine that in Christmas, if you and I were chatting, that feedback loop problem has not been solved. For like landing pages or ads or whatever it may be. It feels like we're at the precipice of solving the feedback loop problem in tons of domains over the next 6 to 12 months. And maybe some come earlier than others. Like clearly coding happened first. Clearly legal is happening really fast. But man, I gotta believe that it'll get solved fast.
I agree with you just because of how fast we've come here in the last 6 months. Coding happened first, but then you look at something like, people are looking for feedback on Claude for their meta ad accounts. And if you look at the feedback you get on Claude, it's terribly outdated. It doesn't work. It's literally just, it's doing what ChatGPT used to do, where it's just kind of giving you positive answers and things like that. But like you said, I think that gets solved relatively quickly. When does that happen? Yeah, within the next 6 months, I could see that getting solved. But then when everybody has the answer, then what happens? You know,
Dude, boom time. It's boom time. The greatest boom since I don't even know.
yeah,
I think like yeah, we will be restrained only by the rate at which the labor market can keep up in terms of GDP growth rate is like what is possible, right?
no, I hope so. I mean,
The
yeah.
reason why we're seeing like founders get so stuck in where maybe we're not seeing other people, I don't know, maybe they're more comfortable or they're just not founders, is because, founders, they have their wide range of different motivations. Maybe they're scared, right? Or they're excited about the new tech, or they just want to kill their competitors, right? They just want to, not have those competitors, those copycats, whatever happens to be. But they're high agency people by like definition. They have like a bias to action. They have a high pain tolerance, or what they're doing doesn't feel painful. They just get things done. I mean, I used to work in agency consulting for agencies. I remember talking to email strategists. These people didn't even design emails. They had designers. They were Klaviyo people, right? And the thing that I would talk about is, hey, we have to do more, right? We have to achieve the outcome. We have to test new pop-ups. We have to write and send SMS. We have to send push notifications, right? And we have to stop defining ourselves as I do email and start defining ourselves as we do retention. We maximize the value of the contact information to the brand that we're working with. But they didn't want to. It was like, I do email. This is my job title. I'm not going to do more than this, right? So I wonder if that's one of the reasons why we're seeing founders get stuck in and do stuff is because they actually do stuff. That's in their blood, right?
I agree. Like I was saying before, some people they want to be specialists. They almost take pride in being specialists. And if you're a founder of a company, you can't be a specialist. You kind of have to be able to wear many hats and do a lot of different things. So I think we're in a great time where people are learning faster than they ever have before. It's crazy to know that just a year ago or 2 years ago, how less educated everybody was on everything. And it's almost like everybody's on the same playing field right now. You could tell 2 years ago who really knew their shit and who didn't. Now it's like, man, everybody seems smart. I don't know if that's just because they're getting fed all the answers. I don't know if it's a good thing in the long run. But I know output wise, it's a great thing.
Yeah. You know what? I'm really grateful I haven't jumped into a call with someone who's just like firing out contrast negations. It's not this, it's that. They got ChatGPT up, just feeding them the next thing to say.
You
That
can't
would
say
be a
that
nightmare.
anymore.
That's funny.
Did you guys see this? I imagine you probably saw it, Rashad, but I was excited to talk to you about this. But the thesis is that the next $1 trillion company will sell work and not software. The idea being, if you sell a Copilot, you're competing with every new model release. But if you sell an outcome, closed books, contracts reviewed, claims handled, every AI improvement makes your margins better. The entire SaaS playbook was about capturing the software dollar. The AI playbook is about capturing the services dollar at software margins. I think this example puts it is contrast negations, but hey, I think it puts it nicely. Not AI for accountants, but the AI accounting firm. Not AI for lawyers, but the AI law firm, right? They won't look like SaaS companies. They'll look like service firms rebuilt on software infrastructure. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I think VCs are going to talk like VCs. That's for sure. So that's like you have to like remember it's their job to like be pithy and provocative to drive engagement and talk their buck, because this is just like not. I mean, I hate to say it, but this is just like not a new idea.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the idea of software, right? This is what software
Yeah,
did
exactly.
for a long time, is it would replace the things that humans had to do by hand. I agree with the like basic premise that the dollars are in human labor. If you replace human labor, people are willing to pay a lot for that. But ultimately, like that was always, software was always a version of trying to do that as well. It's just like a different version of it.
Like the core problem, said differently, the core problem is or there's a temporary argument to be made that if you can dress up a software company as a services company, you can ask for a higher price point in the short term. But dude, the problem is software companies compete with software companies. And like we live, thankfully, in a highly capitalistic, competitive society. And so ultimately these things will just get repriced, right? Because at some point someone's going to compete on price. And so that's just the beauty of capitalism. Now, I think actually the bigger insight is what it does to not the software industry. Like to people who run brands is they used to have to pay whatever amount to an agency or a service provider. And what they can look forward to is that amount is going to become a quarter of what it is today, a tenth of what it is. And it changes the economics of all of those businesses, which is why I made my like boom time comment. I think that's actually the insight. The insight is like, you're going to see a bunch of services start to get priced like software over some period of time. They're not going to price like services. There's just no way.
And all those dollars that are saved are just going to go to the ad platforms. That's where all that money is going to go.
No,
So
you think so?
I think so. Like, think about, let's just use Avi as an example. If your cost of running your business got cut in half, where do those dollars go? I mean, probably some of it's profit, right? But like, if you're going to reallocate those dollars because your OpEx gets cut in half, where do you put those extra OpEx dollars?
Media, yeah.
I think it's all going to get spent on advertising, at least in this ecosystem. Maybe that's not true everywhere, but
yeah, I just think that if it all gets spent on advertising, what it means is that there's enough money going somehow the consumer has to buy stuff. Right. Because you're not going to sit here and like advertise at like CACs that don't make any economic sense. Like that's not going to happen.
That's fair. There's like a macro issue there potentially that has to be dealt with first.
Yeah. You'll see like a temporary hockey stick, and then it's like, well, where does it all get eaten up? Like it can't, and there still has to be the demand and consumption model. So, but no, like I think on the same note of like how I don't know about like this whole like AI accounting firm and whatnot. Like, but what I do think was pretty relevant was, I think it was Khosla. Khosla Ventures, he had put out, he had done some podcasts or some clips for TikTok. And one thing he said, which was like really interesting, he said, I think we're less than 2 years away from websites being completely irrelevant. And I thought that was really powerful, where he was basically talking about the fact that if you're a woman, why are you going to, in a year from now even, go to Aloe Yoga, Lululemon, and a third website to pick leggings? Why wouldn't you just go to your agent, who knows you probably better than you know yourself at this point, right? Whatever you're using, whatever tool you're using, and say, hey, I need leggings. And it's going to have your information, and you're going to trust the number one source it gives you, whether that's Aloe, whether that's Lululemon, or it's Walmart. You're going to buy it because that's what you need. And then there's a layer of like, well, I want a certain look and feel. And I think we're going to get to a point where like, if everyone stops shopping that way or stops thinking that way, and you start to get into a little bit of this, like, I don't know, utilitarian, like this world of where like some of these things don't matter. And this is how everyone else is creating efficiency and how they're doing it. It's like, why would you have a website? You would just go and basically make sure that, like, if I need a collagen, why am I going to go to Vital Proteins, Orgain, Obvi, etc., when there is some known AI that is probably smarter than any research I can do?
So, question there: if an AI agent's doing all your shopping, who's the brand actually marketing to? Is it the human or is it the AI agent?
I think it's going to become 50-50. I think it's like,
Exactly.
I mean, the SEO layer turning into GEO and all of that stuff is just going to have to accelerate. But the problem is AI still needs to pick one thing, whereas Google Shopping and all these other places can show 10 things. And I think that's where the real estate piece is going to be very expensive, where I think a placement on a chat GPT or one of these things are going to be like a Super Bowl commercial. It's like, hey, you want to be the most recommended leggings? Well, it's going to cost $2 million for this month and the placement. And you need to have all these characteristics and criteria to make sure you can even be the most recommended one. And then out of that, we'll create a field of opportunity. And that's what it is.
That's just like selling to Costco, man.
Yeah. Rana, I think you're right that a lot of shopping will go that way, but I don't think websites die because I think people like to browse. Like this is actually like maybe it goes towards marketplaces as opposed to individual brand websites, but like you go to the farmer's market because you want to browse, not because you're actually like that's the most efficient way to buy your fruit and vegetables, right? So like that desired shopping malls are the same way, right? Like most retail still happens in an environment where somebody can browse and shop as opposed to like online is more efficient shopping than buying in retail, but yet most shopping still happens in retail. So I don't think it goes completely to that. I do think that I think you're right about like that Super Bowl idea. Like there's going to be like a massive premium to be the number one recommended thing in the AI, but I still don't think that the idea of like online browsing goes away. When I watch the way my wife shops, it's not the way I shop. And it is very browsing heavy. Like there's a lot of browsing there. And that is actually the desired behavior for her, not the utilitarian get the exact thing that I need.
Yeah, can I just one provocation, Jeremiah? Because first of all, I agree with you, but I have this dissonance because in B2B world, actually, it's really easy to see. I don't buy tools that don't have an MCP server or CLI or like A+ API. And the reason is I don't want to look at the website. Like I have the inverse. So like there's a tool that we use that I have never seen the interface of because all I've ever done is connect through the MCP. I literally could not tell you what the interface looks like. And I interact with it entirely through the MCP. Salesforce just announced that they're marketing it as headless, but the reason they're marketing it that way is they've invested a lot of time over 20 years being very strong at the API layer, which is what allows for that whole like industry of Salesforce implementers. But anyway, the idea that you'd never have to visit the website in B2B is really easy to understand, like ridiculously easy. And so if it's so easy to understand in B2B, yes, I understand what you're saying for shopping, but at some point you got to ask yourself, wait a second, there are categories of things where I don't want to see the website. And like, how far does that extend?
Totally. What Ron just described, like collagen, is a good example, right? Like why would you need to see the website? You're just looking for the thing that's the best fit for your specific need. So, but if you're looking for, I'm browsing dresses and I'm trying to figure out which dress I want to wear to this, this ball that I'm going to in 2 weeks, you might want to look at 500 dresses.
Right. Experience. There's an experience component, right? We're talking, because we're all male. So we're thinking problem solution, right? But females aren't, well, sometimes they are. My girlfriend right now, she's a Gemini Maxi. Everything is organic, natural rubber, whatever it happens to be. So she has problem that she's meeting with solution. But like, some part of it's the experience. I like going to the farmer's market as well. That's the only time I'm ever going to do my groceries is if I'm going to a place where it's nice to do it, right? It's an experience. So
yeah, but Jeremiah, can I provoke you a little?
Yeah, totally. I'm not saying I'm right about this, and I think things shift. I just don't think they go all the way LLM. Is my belief.
Yeah, but here's the problem with your dress example. What's better than browsing like 4 brands' websites? It's I have an MCP connected to every one of those brands' websites, and I say, hey, pull in all of the images. Then your wife takes 20 photos of herself, and she says, impose the dress onto this image of myself. I want you to render it as a 3D render, And then now I want you to build an application for me that takes the dresses from every brand that I love, renders it onto my body, and I just flip through it and she swivels and she looks at herself and she says, now make a little bit of a cart and do a little bit of a modeling show. And now I'm going to text it to Jeremiah so that way he's in the middle of recording a podcast and he can watch me model 4 dresses and give me his input on which one he thinks look best. And I've never gone to the store. I've never interacted with the website.
And she doesn't even need to take the photos because it's just taking them from her Instagram and her TikTok. Just put them on videos of her as well.
And this is easy. I could do this today. I could build this app for you today.
We should have already built it, guys. It's live.
And for the low price.
I agree. Yeah. It is interesting, like, where does the website live in that context? I don't know.
But now she gets to do everything she loves. She gets to browse. She gets to look at it herself. She gets to ask for your input. What she wants to do is satisfy those desires. She doesn't actually care about the Allo website.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and websites are a new invention anyways, right? If you look at like shopping, it's the way that we distributed products online because that was the format that somebody decided was the right format 30 years ago. And that's why we're doing it. It's not that it's the best format.
I think it's Mr. Bezos who decided it, but yeah.
That's true.
Guys, you know what this is reminding me of? I'm not sure if any of you have seen like Balaji's Earth versus Cloud. I'm not sure if I'm getting that right. But it's like this little index thinking that like, it's not going to be blue versus red in the future. It's going to be, people who want to get outside and people who want to get things done online. I can't find it. Maybe it's Earth versus Cloud. Maybe it's orange versus green. I think it's orange versus green. It's a cool idea. What do you guys think about because I'm sure, as we're talking about this, you're all thinking, there are people in my life who have no idea about anything AI, right? They're not thinking about any of these things. And they're refusing outright to use AI. They're concerned when the New York Times writes an article about how some soft person made a poor decision because of AI, right? And they're becoming increasingingly, how should I say it, hostile. It's not even just like adversarial. They're becoming hostile towards AI, right? And I hate to say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of people end up here, right? If they end up like actively hostile towards technology. They've done it before. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? Is there a world where some of this stuff actually fails on the demand front?
For sure. Yeah, dude, I can't share the context in which I am observing it effectively firsthand. But yeah, it's already happening. So yeah, there are many places where people are very, very averse to it. Dude, Ankit, I've got to ask you as a brand builder, one idea that I've been interacting with that everybody's been interacting with. Like, do you know Brian Cano's new like one person brand thing, whatever, like running a bunch of agents to build brands?
Yeah.
There's another one. This guy started this thing called Anuel. It just got funded by General Catalyst. And then, of course, there's that GLP-1 story of if it's like 2 brothers. Do you think we're about to see a wave of like 100 brand platforms being built with like 1 or 2 people and a bunch of agents? Is that what we're about to see happen in the next 3 years?
Yeah, dude. If I wasn't doing this, I would be doing that. Because it's the easiest thing you could do right now. And I think there's kids growing up with this now. So it's only a matter of a couple of years where they've had enough time with these tools to go and do this themselves. And they don't need anybody else because, hell, there's a ton of kids with no friends. And they're gonna start building alone. They're not gonna need anybody else. It's literally gonna be them and their AI agents, and that's it. And man, I wish coming out of high school we had the tools we have now because I was probably one of those kids. um, and I can only imagine what they're gonna be able to do with all the free time that they have that we don't have. Now it's going to be a sight to see, but that's going to happen relatively quickly. I'm thinking, within the next year, you're going to just start seeing a lot of saturation. And then in 2 or 3 years, it's going to get crazy.
We work with a bunch of enterprises right now, and my biggest worry is like all of those companies are asking themselves, how do we like end up on the right side of AI? I think the biggest issue is that actually who they're going to end up competing with is people like this who have fundamentally different OpEx structures. And when your OpEx structure is that different, how do you transform? Dude, that's like an impossible challenge in my mind.
It's one of those things where they haven't built habits. They haven't been taught. So they're building in a completely different way. And how do you combat an enemy that you don't know what they're doing? It's like playing poker with somebody who doesn't know how to play. You hate playing with that guy because you have no idea how he's going to play. It's literally that.
I imagine some of the enterprises that you work with, Rashab, started as, low OpEx compared to the incumbents, right? That, Shopify in all of its technology pre-AI, it kind of eliminated the need for a web developer, all right? In a similar way that AI eliminates the need for, an entire team of web marketers that are going to like spin up landing pages and take weeks to do it. It will do it in, one prompt. I'm not sure if you guys have seen Baseball Lifestyle 101. I think that's what they're called. I think they're called Baseball Lifestyle. I think they're on the Dawn theme. This is a massive brand that does, I think, tens of millions a day at peak. And
I guess they were gonna. I think they were planning on hitting 9 figures last year, if I remember seeing those numbers correctly. And yeah, just massive growth, like 500% year-over-year growth.
Insane, incredible. They're eating someone's lunch at those numbers, right? There's an incumbent that's not selling backpacks and shorts to kids.
Yeah, I think the business to be in is manufacturing. If you can figure out how to manufacture for these, that's where the money is, because that demand is just going to increase. And if I was an incumbent who had my own manufacturing, that's how I would be thinking about it. I'd be thinking about, how do I manufacture for all of these people that are going to be starting up? You make your money regardless of how successful they are in that context. They pay you to run a product, and you're good to go and move on. But I don't know anything about manufacturing, so I'm not going to get into that business.
A lot of logistics.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if you're anywhere or in and around ecom, I think the thing that Ankit was saying, like Ankit saying the words, if I wasn't doing this, that's what I'd be doing. I think it's the thing that people in and around ecom are spending the least amount of time talking about and should be spending the most amount of time talking about. Because it's literally exactly what the next like Shopify and Shopify Wave is like, not like, hey, how do we generate 100 new ads? Like you guys literally said it had no business impact. Like who gives a shit? The thing that's going to have massive business impact is you build a business that has an OpEx structure that's fundamentally different than the old business. And I just don't know why we're talking about other stuff. You know what I mean? Like the other stuff doesn't matter. Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot in my business. Like, if I were doing it over today, what would I do? And why am I not doing that today? And then how does that look? Because I think that's the real question.
It's almost like you're almost constrained. You have to do it a certain way because of the thing. Like there are obviously guardrails that have either been put up by you or put up by somebody else. But if there were no guardrails and you were doing this in your closet, how much more efficient could you do this if you just started with a blank slate? Like you said, it's almost like no one's talking about it because nobody wants it to happen, but it is going to happen.
But isn't that? I mean, anyway, I feel like this is like a great place to end. But it's like dude, we've got to talk more about that actual thing, because I think otherwise we're all just sort of like pretending, and the tornado is coming.
I'm still bullish on people, but I'm bullish on co-founders and founders, people who are like hungry, waking up every day doing something interesting, or like at least setting up the leverage, right? Whether they're finding someone really hungry who can do it. I'm still bullish on people, but those people, right? The people who are like actually want to make things better. Yeah, I'm a little concerned for everyone who's, looking at the tornado and going, oh, it'll be fine, right? But the other people who are out there, they're solo building, or they're building with their friends from like whether it's high school, or they're building with, other very industrious, motivated people, hungry people. Yeah, I'm bullish on those people.
Amazing. All right, dude, Ankit, this was really fun, man. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for coming, and thanks, Ron, too.
Great catching with you guys.
Bye.